Good day, good people. Welcome to another purpose-filled episode of Lessons for the Journey. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and information on women's wellness, understanding our whys, and the lessons that inspire us to take positive actions in ourselves, our families, and our communities. Our topics focus on women's wellness, seeing through the lens of metaphysics, sharing spiritual insights, highlighting our journey lessons, and building healthy relationships. I am your host, Dr. Hetheru, and I share this space with engaging co-hosts, guests, inspiring topics every Friday at 12 p.m. for a transformative 1-hour experience here live on Podcastic and on YouTube. You can expect that you will have deep thoughts, conversations on self-discovery and personal journey, special guest locations, events, people, polls, and thoughts. Our co-hosts share wisdom and life-changing experiences and insights, and we have a powerful blend of spiritual metaphysics and wellness lessons. The tools and strategies are designed to help you to elevate your mind, body, and spirit. So I encourage you at this time, if you don't have something to write with, pen and paper, then please take a moment and go get it, because you are going to want to take some notes and share some insights for future thought. Our show is produced by Chantel Mosley of the Podcastic Studio. Today we have a special engineer, Miles Dixon himself. Our co-hosts today are Ma'at Sabah and Nicole S. Miller. And our message is, if you're seeking clarity, healing, or personal empowerment, this podcast is for you. So we need for you to tune in, engage, and transform. So your journey of self-discovery with us begins now. So let's jump right into our topic for today. Are you ready for this? We know that this is not only Women's History Month, but this is also National Reading Month, right? And so we are going to look at reading from both a metaphysical and spiritual view. So just get ready, because I'm telling you, if you don't have pen and paper, we need for you to either record this, or because you're going to need this information as you do further meditation throughout the rest of this month. So our topic for today is the metaphysical gift of reading. And of course, this is to acknowledge National Reading Month, but also Women's History Month. So we always start our show with a question for food for thought. And so our question for today of our co-hosts here are, what is your perspective on life after death? Perspective of life after death. I always make my hot start. So.
I think we all gravitated that
way. Share your insights. Life after death.
I absolutely, definitely believe that there's quote unquote life after death. Mm-hmm. Not in terms of the typical sense of how we define life, like we're living now. And so when it comes to life, when you transition from this dimension that we call life to another dimension where they say that's actually where life really is on the other side, not here. It is absolutely I'm just going to call it as life. I mean, maybe we need to redefine what life really means.
Mm-hmm. And death.
Because, because I have been visited from those that have passed on in transition. And, talk to them, or they've talked to me through other people. And they would say things that are relevant to what's going on right now. So these people are not making it up. I'm not making it up. I have no reason to do that. So, and even animals, are your animals visit you when you transition. I had a situation where I kept finding this white hair on my coat and in my car. There's never been an animal in my car, ever. And for sure it wouldn't have been a white one, not exposed to any animal or anything like that. But a dog that we lost had that exact same hair.
Wow.
And I kept feeling something in my apartment, short, like not a person, but I didn't make the connection till I saw the hair. And I said my dog had visited me. That's the only explanation it can be. So I think, again, we need to redefine these words that we use. Like, what is life really? What is death really? If you have blood running through is that the only definition of life?
For sure.
So,
yeah. How about you, Nicole?
I agree with what Maya said. It's the definition. For me, when I think of life after death, life is ongoing. The true essence of what life is does not die. Life doesn't know death. Right? So when we talk about, for me, life after death, it's understanding the transition from experiencing life in the physical to experiencing life now that we're limitless and we're back in true form. So life after death is life after change. Because when we look at death is change, death is transition.
Yes.
In a relationship, we transition. We can call life after death life after divorce, right?
That's right.
I mean, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Going through my divorce, a part of me died.
For sure.
An idea died. A mindset died. So I am right now living my life after death.
I like that.
Yes, that's insightful. I think about life after death, and I agree. We have to redefine it, because I believe you're this level of energy, frequency, vibration into the next level of energy, frequency, and vibration, and I can say that on so many levels. So I think about my dad, and I think about my dad and my best friend, that when I want to talk to them, I talk to them. And I know, and I hear exactly what they're saying to me, the feedback that they're offering, as if they are still having that same conversation. And in the physical sense, they're no longer with us. I would say in the physical body inhabited sense, they're no longer with us, but I still talk to them. I still love them. I still have memories. I still have connection and conversation. And sometimes, so my father has visited me. My dad passed through this life in 2021. And a couple months ago, I was in the kitchen, and, I had been feeling my dad, and I was in the kitchen, and I was distracted, so I wasn't really prepared. And I turned around, and he was standing behind me. And it startled me to see him standing behind me. And I jumped and I jumped back. And I was like, oh, I said, I'm sorry. I said, you just startled me. You standing behind me. I turned around and you standing right there, right? But I haven't seen him since. I know he's like, oh, I scared the girl. I'm like, it startled me. I wasn't afraid, though. Mm-hmm. It's not my dad. I wasn't afraid. But to see him, and I just, like I said, I was distracted. I was doing something. I turned around and he was standing right there. It was a bit startling. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't afraid. And I was actually happy. I was like, oh, wait, come back. Come back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, Mm-hmm. But I knew he was just sharing with me that I'm here. And he does that through other actions and other ways that he supports. And my dad had always said, he said two things to me. One, if I ever found myself in a situation of danger, my dad's words were, mark them. I'll find them. And, that turned out to be a true statement in more ways than one. But, and I believe that my dad, and he was like, whether I'm here or not, I will find them, mm-hmm. And so, and it was just another form of safety that he presented. And then the other thing that he always told our family is that he always prayed a band of angels around us. Whether we were traveling, whether we were, doing something that seemed to be risky or, putting yourself out there in much the way that, I do, that we do, putting ourselves out there. But for him to say that and pray that prayer, I know that he's probably leading that. Not probably, he is leading that, that effort around having a band of angels around you, meaning that there are those keeping watch, those that are intervening, and those that are present and around you when you need them. And sometimes when you don't, you get the extra, well, are you sure you want to do that? I get that too. So the life after life, I think it's exactly what that is. Life after life. It's just our limited focus or our attention is not in that space, so that we don't give it that space unless you're really having that experience. So thank you all for sharing that and sharing that insight. I think that's I think that question, which of course the questions come from questions from people who are on a journey, and they were fielded questions and directed to help us to help other people who want to know answers or insights on some of the questions. So that's where the questions come from that we have on our show. We are not making up these questions. They were actually presented to us to help other people who are listening in and who are on this journey and looking for answers. So we're going to start our conversation. So I'm going to offer some insights around reading. And I do want to talk a little bit as we get deeper about it. So if either of you, get your inspiration or download or insight, please feel free to interject it. The spiritual meaning of the gift of reading can be seen as a path to understanding, wisdom, and connection to something larger than oneself, fostering empathy and providing solace and guidance in the time of need. And so when we think about National Reading Month, for example, it just highlights the importance and the access that we have to books or reading and encouraging us to do so. So when we look at reading, we look at that on multiple levels. So I think about reading in two ways. So in the physical sense of reading, I think about books. I am still very much connected to having a physical book and pages that I can turn my journal. I do journal and use notes on my phone or my computer, but it's to me nothing like sitting down and having a physical book with the pages. And I know that's partly my connection to trees. For as many books as I read and I have, I always make sure that I plant trees. I think Arbor Day is coming up too. So I make sure that I replant trees every year to give back what I have borrowed. And also, you make, it's not what is it that's called when you give an exchange for an offering? Mm-hmm. Yep. And make offerings to nature to be grateful for the use of the resource. And we may have to make sure that we are replacing those resources that we take for granted. And often we take it for granted. So some of the opportunities that we have to read, of course, we think books, we think newspapers, magazines, contracts. How about that? And we are in a retrograde right now, aren't we? Mm-hmm. we're in a Mercury retrograde, which means that when it comes to contracts and it comes to reading and anything starting with the prefix RE, we need to be paying closer attention to. So restore, remind, remember, all of those things that start with the prefix RE is also what is alive and active in this season. So it's just helping us to be more reflective. So sidebar, for those of you who didn't know about the fact that we were in a retrograde until April, I want to say somewhere around the 14th, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. All right. So here's some other things. Any thoughts about the nature of reading that comes to mind? Nothing that we're not going to get to in a minute.
Right.
Okay. All right. So it says, here's a deeper look at the spiritual significance of reading through the physical lens, a path to understanding and wisdom. Expanding perspectives, reading allows us to step into different worlds, cultures, viewpoints, broadening our understanding of the human experience. How about that? Expanding our perspectives. I do like the fact that you may be able to find information. Even if you're Googling something, you still have to read it, unless you have Google reading to you. But for the most part, we're reading even the things that we use on our phones. We're reading text messages. We're reading emails. So this time and season that we're in, we're always reading. So it's not limited to books. But I know the month is about reading books. But for us, the gift of reading, the gift and the knowledge and the skill to be able to read and understand what you're reading, I think is super important in this season. I hope that is something that this month also draws attention to, being able to read and comprehend and then apply the things that you're reading. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in terms of knowledge. So the next one says, learning from history and experience. Through stories and nonfiction, we can learn from the past, gain insights into our current events, and prepare for the future. So learning from history and experiences. So different types of books. Do you have a particular type of book that you like reading? Like a genre?
A type of book. Spiritual related, historical, especially maybe like religious / spiritual. Mm-hmm. Type information, anything metaphysical. I'm open to most things, but that's really what I'm drawn to. Is like how did we get here? Mm. What is the path from religion to spirituality, and the spirituality that was synonymous at the same time of that particular religion? So you had maybe the Catholic religion, but at the same time you had Gnostics who were more into metaphysics and the spiritual component. Mm-hmm. So those are probably some of the ones that are, and anything dealing with health and nutrition.
Absolutely.
So those are probably the two genres that I'm most drawn to.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Nicole?
Inspirational and metaphysics would be my top two. And then love stories.
Okay.
I love a good love story. I love to feel good. I love the excitement of love stories. So, and I love reading anything that provides inspiration. So not even to limit it to any specific genre. Mm-hmm. However, if I see a title that jumps out at me,
right,
it might just be me reading the title and the foreword to the book, and then I'm done with the book, because within that came the inspiration or the message that I was seeking.
Right.
So when it comes to books, anything printed, I have my specifics I may look for, but I'm open to whatever message is there for me.
Okay, absolutely. I am interested in things that deal with energy on a variety of levels. So the metaphysics, but I'm specifically looking for the energy, the physical energy that draws me to a text or a book, and I do a lot of research. So I research everything about families, women, relationships, our community. How do like you talked about, how do we get here, and how do we go forward? So I'm always looking for information to help build strategy. Mm-hmm. I find that interesting, and like I said, I probably, you can find out on your phone how much time you spend on your phone, your time for the week. So I probably double or triple the time that I have on my phone. So probably a week, I average about 6 hours. Most of that is my text messages and emails, not necessarily, surfing social media. But I do a lot of research, and I'm sure if I really logged that in, it would be probably 3 times what I do on my cell phone that I do in research and reading. And so that's really important to me, to take in new information every day. I mean, I take it in like I take in my vitamins every day.
I didn't even think about research and reading. Research for me is like another category, and I guess you have to read to research. And I didn't put the two together, but then that would be everything to skin. By me being a licensed esthetician, I am constantly reading on skin treatments, how to heal the skin, how to, just all the different hydration and lifting and toning and tightening, closing the pores, exfoliating, all that and all the different methods. So I guess research as well. Research was just different from reading. That's right. I didn't.
I get that too.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah. Developing empathy. Reading can help us understand and connect with people who are different from us, fostering empathy and compassion. The second category is a source of solace and guidance, finding comfort in stories. So much like you were talking about the romantic comedy. I'm thinking they had talked about rom-coms on there the last podcast, so I'm stuck in that space. In times of stress or uncertainty, a good book can offer a welcome escape, transporting us to faraway lands and offering solace. Discovering meaning and purpose. Reading can help us explore our own thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, leading to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world, which I think is really important to get connected. So I love the fact that we have so many new first-time authors and so many books. I just bought a book the day before, and it was called Shifting Mindsets to Millionaire, or Shifting to a Millionaire Mindset. One of my Mother and Justice sisters just shared that book that she wrote. And I think anybody who can write a book about a millionaire mindset is the book I need to be reading. So I'm glad to know, and even help those people who have that idea burning in them, to help them get that story out or get that work out, and help them produce it and get it out into the hands of the people who really need it. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things I do with Your Inspired Journey too, is I help people to birth that book, because I think we all have that book in us, but that's part of our journey, to make sure that those words that maybe we can't convey to a large audience like we're doing now in the podcast, but that written word can be kept, chronicled, and distributed in a way that people around the world can always pick it up and have it too. So I think that's important. My aunt has books. You want to mention your books, my aunt?
Mine are a set of memos. Mm-hmm. So it's called Messages from the Goddess, Memoirs on Life's Lessons. And the first one is called Alcohol or Spit. Now, all of the titles to my books are very different. All of the books are based off of something that happened in my actual life. So Alcohol or Spit is about telling the truth. Mm. And then I have, I've got 10 done, and I've got like 15 in queue.
Nice.
There's Entertainment Center, Elevation Center. Mm. And that one is about the amount of time that we spend on just your inner growth. There's another one called God's Chair. That one is about us being conscious of our behavior, because God is always watching. Not in judgment, but if God was in the physical, there's things you wouldn't dare do in front of God in the physical. So why would you do it? Just period. Like, why would you do that? Mm-hmm. So there's as I said, they all have different titles, but they're little workbooks. So it's only like between 60 and 80 pages of each one. And so you have the main story, and then you have Ma'at's memos, which are words of just their phrases, words of power that correlate with the story. And then you have self-analysis questions and spiritual laws, and you have to apply the spiritual laws to the questions. So the books themselves are small, but it's actually like a workbook, and that's nothing that you can fly through. Mm-hmm. If you take your time, if you do it right, apply it right, it takes a minute to go through it. But it's all about discovering self-analysis. Everything is self-analysis and spiritual laws.
That's awesome. How about you, Nicole?
Well, I'm sorry, I got caught up in in her books.
So your book, what books are you birthing? I know you have workbooks too, because you're a facilitator and master teacher. So you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you use in terms of tools when you do workshops?
So when I do workshops, so I am a minister whose foundation is in A Course in Miracles. So I use those 3 books. The Course in Miracles is 3 books in one, a text, a workbook, and a manual for teachers. Okay. So a lot of the curriculum that I develop in my workshops and my classes come from those 3 books. And the workbook is actually one for 365 days out the year.
Nice.
And every year you start at lesson 1 and you read up to lesson 365.
Wow.
And within that, there are tools and a shift in mindset. It goes from a fear-based thinking to the thinking of love, from being attached to this physical realm to understanding that we are to rise above and see beyond and rest in our true self of peace, of love, and that freedom is our birthright. So a lot of my writings and what I teach come from that mindset that peace is my only goal, and I am not a body, I am free. For I'm as God created me. So just really living in the divine essence of who we are. And the books that are coming, because I talked to Heather for over a year about these projects, and they keep evolving. You know, as I'm sitting here, and I even look at what I was writing 2 years ago. I like to go back and reread, and then even the mindset of now. And I'm one that gets caught up in that, like, I don't even believe this anymore. I have to start with something new. So the book never gets published because
it's evolving.
It's constantly evolving. However, writing those stories, writing my lessons, frees me to learn and grow and read again, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why I was so captivated. Like, dang, how did you get those workbooks out? Like I can't even.
Oh no.
Let me share something with you. Just something to think about. Mm-hmm. And in term, when you say that you redo the book because you're constantly evolving and what you believe before you don't believe now.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to maybe make a progression of books, a series of books, to chronicle your growth, because even the first book that you write, and you might not have believed, but there's somebody that book is going to help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because people have to understand that we progress in steps. What we believed when we were 12, 15 years old, we don't believe now, because we know better. What you believed at 30, you might not believe now. What you believe at 40, you might not believe now. But that's how you got to where you are now, and you can touch somebody's life. Mm-hmm. So if you write it as a series, as a progression of your journey, then I think that would maybe be the answer you're looking for. So that way you don't have to keep stopping, because you're always going to stop and go back because you believe differently now. But somebody can be helped where you were then.
Mm. Yeah. And thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Thank you, because that also reminds me that I can read the same book 10 times and get a different message, see another sentence, or just like doing the course, the same lessons, 365, start back over, and something else jumps out that's brand new. Mm-hmm. So,
and that is the word. That's the living word. Mm-hmm. That is really the meaning of the living word, is that it reaches you, it touches you, it educates you, it guides you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same experience that you had before. It's alive. It's evolving just like you are. Mm-hmm. And then I like the fact that there's a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
Right? And so when you're ready for whatever that next thing is, you have to be open for how the teacher is going to show up. I was really captivated to learn that the teacher doesn't necessarily have to be a person.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It could be something in nature. It could be an animal. It could be a podcast. It could be that message that you just needed to hear at that time to help catapult you to that next moment. Break that thinking that you had before and offer you a new way, a new piece of information, a tool, just what you needed at that time to do what you need to do next. So it's an ever evolving word. It's an ever evolving word.
I was going to say, they say that the word is life, right? That through our words, life is created or life is birthed. So when I look at the idea of reading, even when we write down our affirmations and then begin to read them out loud, the power and the ability to read, to affirm, to bring forth, to find peace, to heal. I mean, it's all of that reading gives us. Reading does give us a voice. The ability to explore through the stories, to explore through the facts, to explore through whatever it is we're looking at in word form, to then evolve and elevate within ourselves.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. So I have books, and I have 6 books that I self-published. They are on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And what I appreciate about my books, so I don't write novels. I can, but I don't write novels. I write books that people can use. And I say you can read my books in a wash and dry cycle. So if you're washing your clothes, you can get through my books, and a lot of them are to share those nuggets, because these are lessons for the journey. Anything that you see me write is about the lessons for the journey. There's the lesson in that, and there's the lesson, and there's the blessing, right? So for me, it is. I feel that you don't have to go through what I've been through. You have the tool now. Bypass this, absorb, take in what you need, and keep it moving.
Absolutely,
keep it moving. And so I think that's such a powerful way to really embrace a book. Again, I like the flipping of the pages. I like the way that it feels to have I like the sound of it turning. And, they do have some ebooks where it has the sound of you turning the page, and it looks very real on your computer or your tablet or your iPhone. But I still like the feel of the books. I like the fact that we can support writers and authors that way. And so, it's always been important. And we also have a book drive for Encourage Me I'm Young. We have a book drive happening at the end of this month with some books that were donated for, and it's specifically for Black boys. And we're giving away 200 of those books, and they feature, the books feature Black boys. So I think it's important that we are, sometimes when we're done with books, I gift books, but not my own. If you see a book from me, my name is splattered all over the book. So it's very much used. I use books. And so, but I just want to encourage you to take a few moments every day to read. Increase your reading. By increasing our reading, we increase the number of words that we take in. We increase the amount of life that we take in. Just like you said, words are life. Reading is life. And so the more we ingest those words, the more we take that time, the more life we have. So not just from the information and knowledge, but for the focused attention on you and the page and the things that are being absorbed into you, the energy that's coming into you. So it says... Oh, here's another one. Discovering meaning and purpose. Reading can help us explore our own thoughts, emotions, beliefs, leading to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. Very, very important. Finding answers and inspiration. Books can provide answers to difficult questions, offer inspiration, which is what Nicole shared, and encourage us to pursue our goals. Awesome. And then as we look at tools for spiritual growth, it also, in some religious books or spiritual books, metaphysical books even, help us to connect with the divine. For some, reading religious texts or spiritual literature can deepen their faith and understanding of the divine. Cultivating mindfulness, reading can help us slow down and become more present, allowing us to appreciate the beauty and wonder in the world around us. Absolutely. So I'm not sure how you guys are triggered by what you read, but for me, it's almost like having movie being played in my thoughts. I get to experience whatever I'm reading, and because those words for me are alive, and so I get to see them, and I get to experience whatever the writer is experiencing. I don't know, how does reading affect you? Does it affect you that way?
I'm very visual, and so when I read something, I literally see it in my head. And when you talk about the ebooks as opposed to a physical book, I can feel touching the paper on the book is different to me than an ebook. If you don't have a choice for ebook, you don't have a choice. But I would rather have the physical book in my hand to touch it because I can feel the energy from the writer. And so it just puts a different little spin on it because I can feel them. I'm reading what they're saying, but I can see it at the same time. And so whenever I read something, it's actually a venture.
Yeah. How about you, Nicole?
I'm very visual when I read. It's funny because I'll do both a ebook and a physical book. In my physical book, I will not write in. I will not highlight. I will not write. There will be no notes. That book has to stay clean. My books are clean. But that ebook, highlights, side notes.
Okay.
So,
I didn't even know you could do that with the ebook.
Some of them, depending on the software, like some of the books or pamphlet or e-learning tools.
Okay.
They have that ability.
Wow.
We have to step up our game.
I know, right?
Get some
ages.
Right. Be able to cross an audience. Right. That's awesome. I hadn't even realized that they could be interactive like that. Yeah, my books, I wouldn't call them clean. Notes and highlights and questions and question marks and symbols, all that kind of stuff are in my books. They really are a tool. My study Bible, it have so many sticky notes I could probably plaster a wall, because that's how I keep a lot of my notes, But all my books, they look similar to that.
Yeah, mine are well loved as well.
Yeah.
We have a relationship together. I'm with you. I have notes everywhere. I have lines, and the lines mean certain things, and I have my own like Morse code when I write in the book. So
right.
if I go back and look at it 5 years later, I know what that meant, and I could go back to that space. It's like, oh yeah, So, but to me, they're tools. And I use it as a tool. Now, some books I won't write in.
Yeah.
But other books that are for my, for whatever it is that I'm doing, if it's for classes or research or things like that, then I absolutely write in those.
I can't say that I have a book that I said, I'm not going to write. I can't even... I can't even think of a time where I even had that thought. Only if it's not my book. Now, I try not to borrow books. I try my best not to borrow books because I know what I'm going to do with them. So, I may borrow it for a moment and then order it if I can. Yeah. And then, some rare finds. I have Bibles and concordances, and each different variation of a Bible is different. The language is different. The words are different. And so I have a Bible from the 1890s. It's a different version of a Bible. I've been looking for, if anybody is out there and you have the Ethiopian Bible, I've been trying to find a real, authentic Ethiopian Bible. And so if anybody is out there and they know how to get to one, please share that resource with me. I would greatly appreciate it, because that's a whole different story.
2 or 3 different jobs to pay for it, though.
Okay, so I don't want to pay for it like that. I would like to have it. It is something, so it's on my wish list. So if anybody's out there granting wishes, please take my wish into consideration. All right, so from a spiritual perspective, now we're going to shift it a little bit. We're still talking about reading, but now we're going to shift it to reading people. So being an empath means having a heightened sensitivity to energies and emotions of others, potentially tapping into a greater universal consciousness and acting as a healer for themselves in the world. There are so many people that are able to read other people, but there are also people who are empathic and not just reading, but they're actually experiencing with another person. So are either of you empaths? Have you had that empathic experience and ability?
Yeah. I mean, all my life I just didn't know. There was no word to put to it. And because I do different types of alternative healing therapies, you have to be very careful of when you are in a person's energy field or auric field, that you can take on the illness or disease or symptoms of that person. And so whoever taught you should also tell you how to protect yourself from that, from those symptoms. And then once you realize that it's not you, empaths are not something that's discussed. And so
for sure,
the symptoms, not the symptoms, I can't think of the word I want, but it's all the same. Like, they typically don't like to be in big crowds, don't like to go to funerals and that those types of events, because you can feel everybody's energy, and it becomes very uncomfortable. But you don't have a word to put it to, and because you feel it, you think that it's you,
right?
And most of the time it's not. And so to have someone to define what being an empath is, what it feels like, and how to protect yourself from the energy that does not belong to you is very important. And so people that are healers, being an empath is part of it, because when people share certain things with you, you really can feel what really is going on.
Yes.
They might say one thing, but you feel and sense something different.
Absolutely.
And so you know how to address it with them in accordance to address what they're not saying, as well as address what they are saying.
Yes.
So it actually is a tool when you learn about it and learn how to use it.
For sure. Nicole?
I would say I'm an empath, and I've been aware, maybe like Maya said, never till recently had a name to put with it, but definitely empathic. I like to think of it also as a way for me to feel and hear my own soul. Like, very sensitive to spaces, very sensitive when interacting with others, but really feeling deep and using that ability to feel and hear my own soul clearly, to hear spirit within me, because as an empath, or someone who does feel and see and hear, right? Knowing the voice of spirit or my inner guide or self clear, so that, to what Maya said, I know what's mine versus what is someone else's.
Absolutely.
So that's where that's my power center, and that would be how I can use it to hear me and know me and elevate self with a capital S.
Okay, absolutely. And I think it's amazing that the four of us in this room have that gift. And the fact that part of the journey, and being, especially for those who are coming into the understanding of it, part of the journey is like Ma talked about. She called it a sense of protection. It's a sense of preparation, but it's also different for different people. So the gift is slightly different. We use kind of that name as empath, but the gift is slightly different. Like Nicole talked about it being a self-healing gift as well, a self-fulfilling gift as well, but also being able to be able to distinguish between you and somebody else's. And I have to, that's something that, because it happens every day, you have to make sure that you are detoxing, releasing every day. And so I think what's helpful for those who may be listening and want at least another tool to use to help, I call it decompress, to help decompress, is journaling. Because you actually can write down what you're feeling and what you think you're feeling, so you can go back and look at it and say, oh, okay, that didn't make sense, or I don't remember having that feeling or why I felt like that, and you can't write it out or write through it. It helps you to be able to think, oh, you know what? I was thinking about so-and-so, or so-and-so shared this with me, and I was, so it's another way to release it using another spiritual principle. So writing is a spiritual principle, and how you use that written word is going to be important too. So that's, I think that's a good tool for those who are recognizing that you're coming into this ability, or those who are seasoned in this ability. So do you mind sharing, my aunt and Nicole, how do you go through your cleansing or detoxing process from having either been in spaces? So when you teach and you're sharing that gift, and we're going to use the chakras, you're sharing that gift from your heart and your throat chakra, your higher self. You seem to be more fatigued when you have delivered or shared that level of high energy with a group of people, whether they're present or not. You can still be on a podcast and still have that feeling of being drained or have poured out, and people are taking it in, like soaking it in like a sponge. How do you recover, and how do you use what process do you use to kind of decompress or detox from that experience?
Alone time. Drink water. Make sure that I eat something that's, I'm vegetarian, but make sure you eat something that has life to it, like fruit. You could take a spiritual bath. If you need to, pay attention to your body, because when you're an empath, you'll learn to pay attention to your body and what you should do. So you might not be as drained in one situation, and another situation might have you down for a couple of days. So if you feel that you need to take a spiritual bath, if you feel you need to rest, sometimes it might make you might have to go to sleep. Literally, it'll put you down. Meditation, music, I play certain musics that just kind of balance me out. But usually me being alone and going through my process, at my altar, I'll light my candles, my incense. And again, it just depends on the situation as to how intense that I need to address it. And if I know that I'm going to be in the situation, like if I know I'm going to go to a funeral, then I'll do certain things like wear crystals or prepare myself energetically, spiritually, so that I don't get sucked into that energy. If I have control over it. As I say, if I know I'm going to be in an environment that I have to deal with that, then I'll prepare myself. But if I don't, then when I start to feel other energies trying to permeate through me, then I'll put an energetic block up so that it doesn't affect me like that.
Yes. How about you, Nicole?
I ground in before and after. So grounding before may look like, it does look like meditation, writing, bath, showers, different ways of cleansing. It also may be readings. Once again, it's just however I'm led, but I'm connected to spirit in those moments. Going in, I'm connected to, like I said earlier, one voice. After said, what does that look like? The same. A lot of peace, a lot of quiet time, and just listening to me and what do I need? Do I need to go outside into the sun? Do I need to go by the water? What is it that I need? What is it that I'm feeling? And really being still enough to know next steps. Sometimes schedule does not allow that period of I have 24 hours to reset. It's me knowing, you know what, in this now moment, release. In this now moment right now, take a deep breath, and what is it that you need to do? So it's really depending on what I do depends on my lifestyle in that moment. And that goes right back to me knowing me well enough.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I think the tools that I use is that I go in with the intention of pouring out, and that I know that what I'm going into is to pour out. And if I've met that objective, that feeling that after the event or after the pouring, that when I come back and that is the result that I feel like, okay, good, I have poured out. Now I have room to take more in. And so I have to rest. For me, I mean, I don't have a lot of choice, because I intentionally pour out into the people who are around me. I intentionally experience and share in that energy. And you guys know I'm a hugger, so I need those hugs. And so that, for me, it's almost like having a spiritual energy account. So the more hugs I get in, the more I have to give. But I also know that there is a point where I have to refill. And so that helps me to refuel, to be able to have that embrace, to have people around me that are speaking life and saying positive things and expressing joy, so that the frequency is high enough for me to have that safe space to be refilled. And it's like recognizing where my frequency is at that time in conjunction to my vibration. So, I talk about frequency kind of being where you are, and vibration being about how you feel when you're there. And so as I'm balancing that out, I know I have just poured out. That means that my cup is empty, but it also means that an empty cup can be refilled. And that's kind of how I see myself. So after I have that opportunity, then I cleanse. So I have the rest first, and then I cleanse. It's hard for me to do it the opposite way. It doesn't feel right. It's like it's not time for the cleansing of it. It's the reflection, and that's what happens when I shut down. And my body is like, okay, you're done now. You've run this marathon, whatever time that was. You've run this marathon. Now sit down and rest, then reflect, and then cleanse. And that's how my process typically works. So for those of you who are empaths out there, I hope we shared something that's going to be helpful to you on your journey. And of course, there are different perspectives, and what that looks like for everybody is going to be a little bit different. But the thing that we have in common is the work that we've been commissioned to do. You can't have that gift if you weren't given that as a purpose and the work that you've been doing, or that is intended for you to do. The additional part of the work of that having or honoring that purpose is how you do your inner work. That inner work is so super important, because once you start to hold on to other people's stuff, especially if you hold it in your chest, that's where our cells start to mutate, and those mutated cells start to become dis-ease and discomfort. The same thing for our sacral chakra, the space between your belly button and your pubic hairline. When you hold it there, whether you're male or female, this is where we find our discomfort and dis-ease. So we have to make sure that we go through a full process, and that you're not holding, you're not being unforgiving, you're not being selfish. Like, all of those things add to that. You're not holding anger. All of those things compound you as an empath. It compounds and compounds that gift as an empath. So you want to make sure that as you're releasing any hurts, any pains, any negative thoughts, any negative words, and that energy, you have to release that too. And often, sometimes that's not even your stuff. So it's helpful to be in that space. I want my sisters to be prepared to share how they can be reached, because it looks like we're running low on time. I just want to cover a couple more things before we end. It says, here's a more detailed look at a spiritual meaning of being an empath: high sensitivity to energy. Empaths are believed to be highly attuned to the energies and emotions of those around them, often feeling what others are feeling so deeply that they absorb or take on those emotions. Connection to universal consciousness. Some believe that the intuition and sensitivity of empaths are indicative of their ability to tap into a greater universal consciousness, which is what Nicole was speaking to. Healers and caretakers. Empaths are often seen as natural healers and caretakers, able to deeply understand and connect with others, making extraordinary friends, partners, and caretakers. That's kind of where my aunt was talking. And learning and growth. Empaths are seen as having a unique path of learning and growth where they learn to protect their own energy while maintaining their ability to care for and connect with others. And that really is what we all have in common. Mm-hmm. And then the other aspect is the shadow and light aspects. Empaths are encouraged to embrace both their shadow and light aspects, allowing them to fully embody their potential as healers and compassionate individuals. And lastly, psychic abilities. Some spiritual perspectives suggest that empaths may have the ability to sense the energy of others, perhaps auras, or have psychic abilities. So, just in closing, we are celebrating National Reading Month. We're celebrating women's history and women's story. And so often women carry with them the burden of the care. And I'm saying all people, not just women, but just because it's Women's History Month. But we often carry the burden of others and don't realize that we're carrying it. So what I want to encourage you to do this month in particular is to reflect, especially in the midst of a retrograde. We need for you to reflect, remember, respect yourself, and respect others. But I also want you to take that time, write it down, read new information, take in new information. So if being an empath resonates with you, you need to be reading about that this month. If writing your book or your story resonates with you, you need to be reading up on that this month. You need to start that process, put pen to paper and write, use your spiritual tools. Ma, tell us how we can reach you and find your books.
All right. You can reach me at relationshipfirstaid.com. That's the website. The email address is Relationship First Aid. Same thing for Facebook and Instagram, Relationship First Aid. And the book is available on Amazon under Messages from the Goddess, Memoirs on Life's Lessons, Alcohol or Spit. Which would you like?
Thank you. Nicole?
I'm sorry. You can reach me at Nicole, that's NICHOLE, at etherealreign.com. That's ETHEREALREIGN.com.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And do you have any courses coming up?
Every first Friday, I do a sip and study, which is virtual, and that is what is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Thank you. And I am Dr. Hetheru. You can find me at yourinspiredjourney.com. You can visit my YouTube page, which is Hetheru, and Personal Change Coach, and find some video clips that may resonate with you, some information, the tools, and for the lessons for the journey. You can find our previous episodes of Lessons for the Journey on that show as well. So if you missed this live, you can also catch it on YouTube in the next 24 hours. But I want to just thank you for your time with us today. We pray that something that we said reached you, that you were able to absorb some of this good energy that we have in the studio, that it came through to you, and that you can take it and multiply it. So take it and gift it to someone else. Gift the information. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can continue to put this message forward. We thank Podcasting. We thank Miles Dixon for standing in as our engineer today. We wish and pray over our sister Chantel as she's out there listening in, as she is recharging and refueling her energy. We just thank her for all that she's done, and for our other co-hosts who didn't join us today but will join us in the future. We thank you and we thank our listeners. So please stay clear.